Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Sarah and today I'm doing something new. What I'm going to do is something I'm calling Shelf Raiders. So each of my bookshelves I'm going to go through and pick out certain books that I want to mention. Maybe because I've loved them, I'm really looking forward to them, or maybe I didn't love them but I think they has something interesting to say about them. There's not going to be many books on my shelves that I have read and disliked because I tend to get rid of those because limited space. So yeah, this is my non-fiction shelf. I'm excited to do this. So yes, on my shelf we have some artwork. I've got quite a few of these Egyptian papyrus artworks, which was my mum's, and I have quite a lot of them dotted around the house and in the library. My mum loved ancient Egypt stuff, and when she passed away, I inherited them and have proudly displayed them. My dad got them for her when he was in the army and near Egypt, and so they're very special. And I've got some a witch embracing the devil, up to interpretation. So yes, shall we raid our shelves? In my head, it's like Indiana Jones, Lara Croft Raider, not those horrible snack things called fridge raiders, which are like a weird farty chicken smell. I'm sorry if you like them, but they smell bad. But yeah, so this is me raiding my shelves. So should we start up high? First book I'm going to mention. Oh, I do have a stepladder, which I could use. But I'm tall. Treasured. How Tutankhamun Shaped His Century by Christina Riggs. I love this book. This is a fantastic non-fiction book about what happened once Tutankhamun was discovered. The political implications, the bargaining tools used between the Egyptian government and the world when it came to touring Tutankhamun, what happened to the people who discovered him, the alleged curses. What happens when you find a dead king? And one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was how it sort of started raising some questions in my mind about ethics and the display of human remains, especially like Egyptian mummies, and whether we should be displaying things like that. In my mind, I think I've decided that we shouldn't be, because if we discovered mummified remains of an English person, would we be displaying them? I mean, maybe, but there's something about this kingdom that spent so much of their life preparing for their afterlife and death, and then being laid to rest thousands of years before being discovered, and then being disrupted from their eternal resting place. And I wonder what they would think about it. I mean, they did want that sort of immortality and notoriety for life. So maybe Tutankhamun loves that everyone knows he was, because if we hadn't have found his tomb, we wouldn't know that much about Tutankhamun. He was a very minor pharaoh in the grand scheme of things. He was very young when he died. So we know who he is because of it. But yeah, it definitely created some really interesting questions for me. And it was nice to read about something to do with ancient Egypt, but in a modern setting, and the sort of the phenomenal craze it created with people wanting to go and see. I think my mum even went to go and see the remains, the exhibition when it came to London, and I can't remember, got to the top of my head. But yeah, so I think it's a really, really good book, and so I highly recommend this. And this is my first raid of my shelf. Put that back up. This one's a bit different. If I can reach it. Confinement: The Hidden History of Maternal Bodies in 19th Century Britain by Jessica Cox. And this is about essentially pregnancy, birth, motherhood in the 19th century. And so this is something to be careful with if you have anxiety or trigger warnings about that. And it's something that I actually have trigger warnings with, and I was quite emotional when I was reading it because I'd had 2 children by the time I read this. This was kindly gifted to me by History Press a couple of years ago, just to mention. But this was done so carefully and with love, and it looks at all the different topics. What did people think of miscarriage back then? Multiple children, how they fed, postnatal bodies, midwifery, hygiene levels, which we know has definitely improved over the centuries, infertility, and it's just a really interesting look at motherhood by focusing on 1 century, which in the grand scheme of history is not that long ago, and it could be incredibly sad at times, but it's really interesting, and I just liked the approach that Jessica Cox did. And there's a poem here by Elizabeth Gaskell after the death of her child, which I still think about. It's just incredibly moving, because the idea that people didn't care as much about child loss back then because there was more children because of lack of contraception and all that sort of stuff, it's just not true. So yeah, this is one if you feel like you can face it, but even as a mother who has huge anxiety about my children and pregnancy, I do recommend it. I thought it was really well done book. There's a few up there that I've mentioned in previous videos, like Femina by Yanina Ramirez. Great book. Ooh. That's a good one. The Fall of the House of Byron, Scandal and Seduction in Georgian England by Emily Brand. I loved this. This was so dramatic. This is all about the Byron family, not just the mad, bad and dangerous to know, Lord Byron, but all the people who led up to him. Dangerous uncles, frittering away of fortunes. I mean, even a book alone about the poet would have been enough to show what an unusual family he came from. Incest. It's a really interesting book, and it sounds like it's niche, but it really gives you an idea of what was going on in the aristocratic families of the 18th and 19th century, obviously early 19th century when it comes to the Lord Byron we know. I mean, when do we start? We start in the early 18th century, looking at the Byron family. Now, we mostly know about the poet, but what about all the people that came before him? We know that he had unusual relationships with women, and that people loved him, Byron mania and all that sort of stuff. But what maybe led up to that? It was like reading a gossip magazine, but instead of reading about, I don't know, who's famous nowadays? Blake Lively. I don't know, she's the first person that came to mind. I'm sat there with my broadsheets in the 18th century in my frilly dress, going, oh, did you hear what Lord Byron did? Oh my gosh. But actually, I probably wouldn't be able to have read back then because of my class status. I would probably be working in a bar as a wench. But, this was so fun. If you're interested in 18th, 19th century history, Georgian history, family dramas and intrigue, can I recommend a bit of Lord Byron and his family? Good book. Really good book. This one. It's one of my favourite books of last year. This is Embers of the Hand by Eleanor Barrowclough. Hidden Histories of the Viking Age. This was gifted to me last year by Profile Books. I loved this. This is exactly how I like history to be told, with like humour and heart and clear passion. We look at all different areas of Viking life, and I'm not talking like the battles really. That's the stuff that we know about, and the raiding of Lindisfarne and their violent pillaging and all that sort of stuff. But what about just like their everyday lives? What about the children who are getting bored when they should be doing work and drawing around their feet, and we have that? Or the wives sending runes to the inn to say essentially, you better come home now, you've had enough. There's inscribings left by a man who says something like, I love another's wife so much that even fire feels cold to me. I mean, Lord Byron could never say anything that romantic. Oh, it's just, yeah, a really fascinating look at the sort of everyday minutiae, but also doesn't hide away from the things like slavery within the Viking society. It's just done with such a clever, clear hand, and I loved it. And every time I look at it, I'm just like, oh, you're such a good book. Do you get that? When you read a book that you love, that every time you see it on the shelves, you're like, yep, I love you. I find Vikings really interesting. I'm not super into battle stuff, but I just find the culture incredibly interesting, and this one is such fantastic book. I would consider one of my favourite non-fictions now, actually. Yeah, perhaps one of my favourites. Here's one that I'm really looking forward to read, actually. And that's Fallen Idols, 12 Statues That Made History by Alex von Tunzelmann. Sorry if I said that wrong. Yeah, so this came out not long after the Black Lives Matters protests, and we're talking about Edward Colston's statue being toppled, thrown into the river. Obviously, that's not the first example of statues being toppled. In my lifetime, I can think of the Saddam Hussein statues being toppled. I mean, that's Lenin. So yeah, it shows that these things are not new. Also, we look at King Leopold II, who was an awful man. Yeah, it says from the United States and the United Kingdom to Canada, South Africa, Caribbean, India, Bangladesh, New Zealand, protesters defaced and hauled down statues of slaveholders, Confederates, and imperialists. And yeah, so what do we do when we don't agree about things like this? I'm just really interested in this. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading it. I did start it, but then I put it back on the shelf. I remember it's because I little insight drama, not that dramatic actually. I posted about this on Instagram a few years ago, and someone got into a big debate with me, despite me not starting one, about what they think about statues. And yeah, so it kind of put me off for a while, the sort of that incident of someone getting really angry at me when I was just like, hey, I just posted a picture of a book. Go be angry somewhere else. Go in the Daily Mail comments. But anyway, yeah, really look forward to that one. What else do we have? Right, should we go down and look at some paperbacks? So here, this is some natural history, not biology, animal stuff. Quick mention of one that a lot of people have read, but fantastic. The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs by Steve Brissett. I've got the mammals one ready, but I need more brain power at the moment. Having 3 children is really tiring and not conducive to reading in-depth non-fiction. I don't know why no one ever mentioned that. Yes, there's so many non-fiction I want to read at the moment, but I'm tired. Read a lot of dragon books instead this year, which is still a great time, but I am looking forward to having that space in my mind for books like these. But yeah, great book if you've not read it. What else do we have? Oh, one I'm really looking forward to reading in a similar vein is Tamed by Alice Roberts. 10 Species That Changed Our World. And this is looking at 10 species, not just of animal, but of plants, etc., and how they've been domesticated. So dogs, wheat, cattle, maize, potatoes, chickens, rice, horses, apples, and humans. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I really like Alice Roberts. When we get to that shelf in another video, I'll talk about some that I really liked. I have a little bit of a not negative. Okay, so recently I pre-ordered Domination by Alice Roberts, and it was about the fall of Rome and the rise of Christianity, which is not a topic usually in her wheelhouse. And I started it on the day it arrived. So let's say I started it on a Thursday. DNF'd it by Sunday, got to about 120 pages, and I had sold it by Tuesday. It was not good. It was not a subject that comes natural to Alice Roberts, especially as someone who is quite famously anti-religion. I'm an atheist, but I didn't see the point of what she was doing, and it felt more like she had a reason for doing it other than the pure love of it, because she's naturally an anatomist, really. What is it? An anthropologist. So she's not a historian. I mean, we connect her with history programs with things like Digging for Britain and her documentaries. I mean, she's doing one with Rylan at the moment about witchcraft. So, but she's not a historian, and as someone who, as a humanist, but quite vocal in her disdain for things like Christianity and organised religion, it felt like an odd subject with an agenda. And again, as someone who's an atheist, I have no foot in this game. What's the saying? No hand in this game, no foot in this game. It's got nothing to do with me. But the point was, I just thought I'd mention it, that I've recently been a bit like, about Alice Roberts. But I do love some other books by her, and I am excited for more. And hopefully she'll go back to the topics that most of us associate us with, ones that she clearly likes to write about. That was a tangent. Oh, yes, so we've got some about, this one I'm really looking forward to reading. This is Horizons, A Global History of Science by James Poskett. Quoted by Alice Roberts. See, I mean, science is her forte. Yeah, I'm really excited by this one. It says, in this major retelling of the history of science from 1450 to the present day, James Poskett explodes the myth that science began in Europe. I'm really excited. I read the first chapter a while ago, and I absolutely loved it, and then I stopped. Which is the story of my life. Never look at my paused section on Storygraph. It is embarrassing. I'm flaky. But yeah, I really like the history of like science and medicine. But again, I need to have brain powers so I can remember these things, because science naturally doesn't come to me. No. Doesn't come naturally to me, science. I've got a C in science in GCSE. Science is hard. It's like the maths. Physics is hard. But anyway, this is not about physics. It's more like chemistry and biology, I guess. But anyway, really looking forward to that one. Oh, I was just humming Peppa Pig. That's really embarrassing. We got some witchy stuff just here. Yeah, mostly witches, magic. Oh, here's one. If you read a lot of books about witches or magic, and you're ready for something tougher, can I introduce Religion and the Decline of Magic by Keith Thomas? I studied this book as part of my university degree. So don't go into this thinking, oh, that's going to be a light read. It's not very light, but I do remember reading it. I mean, I read this a while ago. I'm 34 now, so I graduated a while ago. But so this, looks at the decline of magic because of things like Reformation and anti-Catholic propaganda, and how like those sort of old religious practices were now sort of seen as sort of borderline satanic or unnatural, and why that happened. You know, the persecutions begin under things like King James I of England / 6 of Scotland. So yes, if you also like it's a bit more in depth about that subject, I can recommend that. If you don't like it though, you can blame my university lecturers. Basketball University, you can Google where they are to write your letters to. So here now we have some queer paperback non-fiction. I love this one. Fabulosa, The Story of Polari, Britain's Secret Gay Language by Paul Baker. Now, I know about this book because several years ago, 4, 5, I don't know, I saw the spine on, I believe it's Sophie's channel at Redhead Reading. And I know she's read it, but I connect it with her, so I'm sure you could see the spine in some of her videos, and I thought, that's a fun name. By the way, Sophie's one of my favourite YouTubers, booktubers, potato. She reads such a wide variety of stuff, like you never know what she's going to pick up next, and I'm always very thrilled and excited by it. So please go see her. I'll put her link down below if I remember. But hello, Sophie, thank you. Yes, so this is about Polari, which was a language created in the first half of the 20th century to be used by gay men. It just gave them a little bit of a chance to create their own world where they could talk more freely about things, you know. From etymological point, it's incredibly interesting, like how words were used, how what they chose to mean different things. So let's have a look. There is some that we do use today, but baloney for rubbish. Blob queen, a queen of no account who tends to follow a drag queen around, hoping that some of her glitter will fall off on her. Bevy, have a drink. I think Vada, that is that face? To look. Have a Vada, to have a look. Yeah. It's just I love Paul Beck. He's one of my favourite non-fiction writers. I've read all he's done so far, and I need him to do more because they're all always like 5 stars. So yeah, this gives you an idea of how Polari was used and how actually it was sort of managed to infiltrate popular culture and things like Round the House, which was a radio show. Was it? It was just radio, wasn't it? Can't recall, but it had Kenneth Williams in it. Kenneth Williams, if you're in the UK, you will know him from the Carry On films. I'll put a picture. You might know him when he goes, "Oh, matron."
I was just in the middle of undressing.
Oh, don't let me stop you, matron.
I wish I hadn't done that. I should have just said, editing fair, put a clip of Kenneth Williams. But, so him and, what's his name? Oh, it was Douglas someone. I can't recall. Oh, that's really annoying. Yeah, they did shows that were incredibly popular. And little did they know they were talking a gay language at a time when homosexuality was still banned. Yeah, it's just a really, really interesting book and severely underrated. What else? Oh, this one. Fanny and Stella by Neil McKenna, The Young Men Who Shocked Victorian England. Again, another fantastic book about 2 men who, to be honest, had huge bravery to consistently leave their house in full women's clothing. I don't want to call them drag queens because I don't truly know exactly how much of it was dressing up to perform or because that's who they felt. But this is about how the police trailed them and arrested them and put them on trial. And it was sensational. It was everywhere in the news. Some of the vile things doctors did to try and find out whether they'd had relations with other men, the aftermath of that and how they dealt with it, and you know how the queer community reacted. And just because they wanted to go to the theatre dressed as women. Yeah, really good book. Really good book. So then we got some ancient history coming on here. We've got some Egypt, and then we've got Rome. Oh, this is one I'm really looking forward to reading. The Mad Emperor. I'm going to say Heliogabalus, but I know that says Heliogabalus. And The Decadence of Rome by Harry Sidebottom. Great name. Also, can I just... Oh, it's beautiful. Yes, so I know about Heliogabalus because of... Yes, horror mysteries. Yep. Random.
I'm so random.
Yeah, so he was a young emperor who was considered a bit unhinged, excessive. He apparently married a vestal virgin twice. Rumours that he was a sex worker on the side as being an emperor. There has been some sort of academic debate about whether, in modern terms, Heliogabalus may have been trans, but that's something I haven't read the book, and I'm just saying it's an academic thing I've seen, and I watched a talk about sexuality in ancient Rome, and they mentioned Heliogabalus in context with sort of gender conflicting feelings for them. So yeah, I really look forward to reading this. Just like a slightly different look at ancient Rome. One that I really liked, Agrippina by Emma Southern. a biography of the most extraordinary woman in the Roman world. Nero's mummy. Nero, that lovely emperor who definitely didn't make candles out of Christians. But yeah, so she was a sister, niece, wife, and mother of emperors. Not always separate, you know. Her uncle was her husband. Yeah, this is just really interesting. The attempts on her life, like that woman was like a mini Rasputin trying to escape Nero's attempts on her life. Incredibly interesting. Emma Southern is a fantastic writer. Really, I actually mentioned one of her other books in another video. But yeah, really incredible non-fiction writer. Easy, especially if you're not used to like ancient Roman history. This is why I think this would be a really great place to start, actually. Especially because we're looking at a woman, and obviously there's less records about women in ancient Rome because they were seen as lesser. So yeah, that one is a good one. River Kings by Kat Jarman. Great book. I'm talking too much. I'm already half an hour in. I'm only 3 shelves down. See, this is why we're not doing a full-on shelf tour. Okay, so here we have some like Italian history. We're talking The Borgias by Paul Strethan. Great book. So dramatic. The things they were getting up to. Got a pope. It was Alexander VI. A pope. Poison rings. Possible orgies. Murder. Mayhem. And much more. Yeah, so dramatic. I mean, honestly. Who needs the Tudors when you have the Borgias? Really looking forward to reading his book on the Medicis. Looking forward to that big time. Yeah, like I said, we've got a book about Casanova. I'm really looking forward to reading. Then we've got Victorian. We've got some Victorian, got quite a few. I've mentioned quite a few Victorian non-fictions in some videos already that I've enjoyed. So, I might skip that. Oh, there's a spider on my shelf. Hello, spider. What have we got? Oh, and then we have quite a lot of Russian books. I'm going to mention this one. Oh, my Russian print fell over. This is, okay, it's not really Russian, but The CIA Book Club by Charlie English, The Best Kept Secret of the Cold War. This is gifted to me by William Collins last year. And this was really fantastic. So this was about censorship and the attempts to get information through, primarily focusing on Poland during the Cold War and their attempts to deliver information about the alternatives to their sort of dictatorial communist rulings, and the CIA was funding them. I mean, didn't we think about the stuff they were asking these people to do? They're very happy to give them these challenges and not care about whether their life was of any value, but what's new? But yeah, that was really good. It was a very good book. What else have we got? We've got so many good books. I've got so many good. There's so much Russian. Oh, this one. This is one of my favourite non-fiction. Yeah, so East West Street by Philippe Sands. Now, this is a fantastic book. One of my favourite non-fictions. And so this is based around the Ukrainian city of Lviv. Sorry if I've pronounced that wrong. Which in decades before had been ruled by the communists, by the Nazis, and how for a small town so much came out of it, including the author's grandfather who managed to leave, how very famous lawyers came from there, which helped out at the Nuremberg trials, and by sort of comparing their lives and how they all joined together. It's really fantastic by having these personal side, with his grandfather's involvement and being from there, and then adding in what the atrocities that was happening and the culmination of those, and how lawyers who studied there ended up coming up and working along with the people who came up with the terms genocide and crimes against humanity. And so yeah, it's a fantastic book. I really need to read more by Philippe Sands. I've got the Rat Line, which I really look forward to read. But yeah, this is so good. And this is like really popular a few years ago, but for a really good reason. It's fantastic. Right. Is there any on here I particularly want to mention? Alright, so the shelf below we have a bit of miscellany, but then we're going on to Tudors. Tudors. Now, I'm a bit done in with Tudors. I'll be real. I've read a lot about Tudors. I think even last night I saw a book about Anne Boleyn and I was like, no, there's so many. Do we need more? And it was one about witchcraft, I think, in Anne Boleyn. I was like, no, there's so many. Do another subject. It's like when you buy history magazines, it's either got the Nazis on or the Tudors. And World War II. Oh no, that is Nazis. There we go. So, is there any there that I want to mention particularly? Not really. Here's one about the War of the Roses, though, which I enjoyed. This is Blood Sisters by Sarah Griswold, the women behind the Wars of the Roses. So we're looking at Elizabeth Woodville, the mother of the Princess in the Tower. We're looking at Margaret Beaufort, the mother of Henry VII. Anne Neville, a Kingsmaker's pawn, and Elizabeth of York, who married Henry VII and was the daughter of Elizabeth Woodville. So that joined the House of Lancaster and York together after old Richard III got lost the War of the Roses. Really good book. Speaking of War of the Roses, this one I'm really looking forward to. This is Shadow King. This is a beast. Life and Death of Henry VI, who was Henry VI was the important king in the War of the Roses, but he wasn't particularly useful. He was he's sort of become an almost not like a martyr, but like a saintly figure. He was catatonic at least twice in his life, and yeah, he's a really interesting figure to read about, and it did not end well for him. But I'm really looking forward to reading that. One that I've watched a documentary of this several times. This is The Search for Richard III, The King's Grave by Philippa Langley and Michael Jones. One thing about me is I'm very interested in Richard III, and a lot of it is because I'm interested in the Ricardians. So the Ricardians are the people who believe that Richard III was the rightful heir to the throne and did not murder his nephews in the Tower. And I'm just really interested. Now, Philippa Langley was if you've watched the documentary about when they found Richard in the car park with Simon Farnaby of Horrible History fame, Philippa Langley was the woman who sort of spearheaded that, and she was there. So she is very high up in the Ricardian society. I find them very interesting. I've read a couple of books by Ricardians, and they are not balanced. They love Richard. They do not like that usurper, Henry VII. I'm not saying what my opinion is because I don't actually know what it is. I think he did know about his nephews, though. I think he knew that they were dead. Either because he ordered it, or he knew about it, or did one of those, well, no one rid me of these beastly, burdensome...
Will no one rid me of this meddlesome priest?
You know, Thomas a Becket or whatever. Anyway, so there's some books. What else have we got? Got some medieval stuff down there. Oh, I'll tell you what, I will mention one book in my medieval stack, and that's Terry Jones's Medieval Lives. This was the book that got me into medieval history. I read this quite a while ago. I did a little bit about medieval history at university, but not very much. But Terry Jones of Monty Python fame. This was just a really fun, understandable look at different lives. So, for example, we have the peasant, the minstrel, the knight.
What knight lives in that castle over there? Well, I am king. Oh, king, eh? Very nice. And how'd you get that, eh? By exploiting the workers.
The damsel, the king. Who else? I'm sure there's more. The philosopher, the monk, the outlaws. Yeah, I just wanted to credit this as the book that got me really into medieval history. I'm really fascinated by it. It's such a vast, a vast range. Then even further down on my shelves, we have Georgian history, and then some non-fiction books about authors. Which, is there any here that I'd like to... Oh, this one I'm looking forward to reading. Oh. Achy Lady. This is The Strangest Family by Janice Hadlow. The Private Lives of George III, Queen Charlotte, and the Hanoverians. I'm just very interested in the family, especially George III with his illness and his not greatest relationship with his sons. But yet had a very good relationship with his daughters. And I'm just really, this is a beast though. This is an absolute beast. This is, actually, it's only over 600 pages. It looks bigger. I mean, I say only over 600 pages, but it looks more like 900. But yeah, I'm just really interested in this. Now, Janice Hadlow, did she do the other Bennets and stuff? I don't think I ever really connected to do there. This is her first novel, but studied history at university. Oh my god. Brain. I haven't read that yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I kept thinking the name was familiar. Anyway, really looking forward to reading that. What have we got down here? And then on the bottom shelf, we have miscellaneous. And there is one that I definitely want to mention. And that's Sea People, In Search of the Ancient Navigation of the Pacific by Christina Thompson. This is a really interesting non-fiction book. I knew nothing about these areas of the world. From Hawaii to the East Island, New Zealand, the Polynesian Triangle. We look at how people discovered it. I mean, it was discovered by the people who already lived there. But how the rest of the world discovered it, how sort of indigenous people would know the swell of the sea so well, it helped them navigate. We look at languages, people trying to recreate how different they managed to get between these what seems like quite difficult islands to reach. Yeah, it's just really interesting. And a topic that I would read more about. So if you know anything about Polynesian history besides this book, hit me up. Hit me up. I haven't got enough books, as you can see. I'll pick out two more, I think. What else? So these are two I want to read. We have The Library, A Fragile History by Andrew Pettigrew and Arthur de Veduen. I'm really sorry if I pronounce that absolutely terribly. Now, this is the history of the library. I think that sounds great. I have read a book by Andrew Pettigrew before. And this is The Book at War, Libraries and Readers in the Age of Conflict. And this was really interesting about literature and reading in the war, how libraries really tried to ensure people had access to information and reading, propaganda books, spies, all that sort of thing. Great. So I know that his writing is good, and so I'm really looking forward to that one. And the other one I have read some of, but I never completed it. I have to restart it, and that's Milk of Paradise, History of Opium by Lucy Inglis, and this is about opium. Poppy tears, opium, heroin, phenytoin. It's sort of area I'm interested in. These mood altering, addictive things. I'm interested in sex, drugs, and rock and roll. In any form, really. So yes, those are some books on my shelves. Oh, actually, do I want to talk about a couple more? No. I'm quite tired now, I'll be honest. That was quite tiring, but quite fun. I mostly spoke about books that I've already read. Is there any on my shelves that I've kept that I didn't really like? Not really. I mean, I've obviously read more than what I showed you. But, I just have really good taste. Just really good taste in books. I look forward to read the Bone Chests. Okay, this one is an interesting one. This will be the last one. And so this is What is History Now? A collection of essays compiled by Helen Carr and Susanna Lipscomb. This has got various historians talking about various subjects like history in films. What was that one I just saw? How can museums open doors to the past? How do you write a history of religion, women, indigenous lives, disability, that sort of thing. And so this is based on an essay collection called What is History that came out, when did that come out? I can't remember, several decades ago. And actually, it's related to Helen Carr. It was called What is History by E.H. Carr, if you're interested. And so this is a really interesting one because of essays. Obviously, now essays, there's going to be some that you prefer to others. This is really a book for the history nerds, really, the me's of the world. But it's going to be one of those books that might not age that great because theories change. And I wonder if it will have the staying power of What is History. But we'll see. Yes, this is like the ultimate history nerds sort of book, like the culmination. You've reached top nerd level, and then you get to read the book. But yeah, it's still a good book, but it's one of those, like some books, as theories change, it might become a bit outdated. But I mean, we're always learning, aren't we? We're always learning. So is that everything? There's so many good books. So many I want to read. So little time. But yeah, how did you like that? Shelf Raiders. Shelf Raiders. Singing in the tune of Tree Wizard from Taskmaster.
Tree Wizard! Oh my god, it's another balloon!
Anyway. Yeah, so what do we think? Did we like this? I had fun. I'm a bit achy there because I bent down and I'm tired. But yeah, so I think I will continue doing this unless you all tell me to stop and rethink my life decisions.
You want to go home and rethink your life?
I want to go home and rethink my life.
And then I might just do it anyway. So whether I go shelf by shelf or just pick at random, if you'd like to see more of my non-fiction, I've got one more shelf here which is primarily hardbacks and quite a few of those like Orange Penguin. Oh yeah. There. Orange Penguin non-fiction collections. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you've read any of them or if you've seen any books that you'd like to ask me about. Or just anything, just to say hello. I hope you're having a lovely day and I will speak to you all soon. Bye bye!